It's Sunday, April 16, 2023, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm Todd Dunn, and today I'm out for a little walk in Southwest Harbor. And what I'm going to do today is walk along Shore Road. Where is Shore Road, you ask? Well, it is a road along the south side of Southwest Harbor in the Manset part of town. And you'll see some familiar things as we walk the road here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the buildings and say what I know about them, which in many cases is not that much, in some cases is a little bit more. So what's Shore Road noteworthy for? Well, first off, it's right along the water. There's Southwest Harbor. Right now we're looking north across the harbor. Over that way is the breakwater for the Great Harbor Marina. And tide is mostly out right now. So we're going to head down here walking along the waterfront. Now this road is right along the waterfront, and all the buildings are on the shore side, or inshore side. And the first few things we're going to come to is a series of houses. Now this is a new house. Up until about a year and a half ago, this was a 1,000 square foot bungalow that had a beautiful view out over the harbor. Now it is a little foggy and drizzly today, so view isn't so great, but this is a nice scenic location. On a clear day, you can see the hills of Mount Desert Island over there, and the land over there is Greenings Island. So last year this house was torn down and they built this new place. So this is the newest house along here that's been completed, and I think it was completed last summer. As we continue up here, see there are some pretty grand homes here. This next one is a relatively new home. It was built in about 2000, maybe a little bit before that. Couldn't see much of it for many years though, because until a couple of years ago, there was a big hedge across the front of the property that was about 10 feet high, and it completely blocked the view of the front of the house. And you can see this is really quite a large and rather fancy house. Copper roof and all shingled exterior in the traditional Mount Desert Island shingled cottage style. And over here they have their own private dock. And this is a good location in the harbor. My mooring is just out of sight up the harbor, which is why it's a good location. So that's the second house along here. And all of these houses here, with one exception, have private docks. Here is the next private dock. And these docks have been here a while. At least that one has. You notice the dock is built on stacks of granite blocks. This house, which still has the big hedge in front, may still belong to one of the sons of Henry R. Hinckley, who started the Hinckley Company. I don't know if it's still owned by them, but they owned it for many, many years. And there's their dock. At one time, I had my boat on one of the moorings right out in front of this dock. Those moorings belong to the Hinckley Company, and so I had a good view of this house and the comings and goings on their dock, which always had Hinckley boats tied up to it. Okay, let's move on a little and see what the next house is. The next one has a little bit more interesting history and is one of the older houses along here. Now, I don't know how old the house we just looked at was. Well, we'll take a look here. This one, which doesn't look as grand as some, has had an interesting history. It was originally built as a dance hall, and over the 25 years that I've been here, it has been for sale a number of times, and it includes a little guest cottage over there, and is quite a striking shingle style waterfront cottage. But if you go back in time, you'll find that it was built as a dance hall, so it has some pretty good rooms in it that have been divided up to make it into a home. And it too has a private dock right down there, a little less traditional in that it's supported by concrete pylons. And we'll continue down here a little further and have a look at the next house. And there is its guest cottage. In previous years, the guest cottage for this house has been available as a weekly rental in the summer. Wasn't cheap though, several $1,000s a week, but it is right above the water with a nice view. Okay, I'm gonna stop for a second and dry the lens off on the camera. Okay, we're just past the little guest cottage, and here we have the property that belongs to the next house. Now, one thing I want to say about the waterfront here is that this area has changed a lot over the last 100 years or so. 100 years ago, this was all commercial waterfront. There were lots of docks and piers here where fishing boats brought in their catch and offloaded it, and where schooners tied up for coasting trade, etc. So here's the lot above the road that belongs to this next house, and they have more land up here a little bit further. And here's the house, and this house is another fairly old home. Let me get on the other side of the road so you can see it better. And it's the only house here on the water side of the road, and is actually built inside a stone pier that's surrounded by water at high tide. Now, this house started out most recently as the boathouse for the Ocean House Hotel, which was just up this next little road a couple hundred feet. And the house was sold at some point after the Ocean House closed and turned into a private home. And the last few years they have expanded their stone pier with a new pier, and they're filling it in still, so they'll have a nice area in front of the home, and they do have a small dock. And this road here now goes up to the parking area for the Southwest Harbor Catholic Church, but it used to go to the Ocean House Hotel, which was just up there 150 feet or so. It was one of a number of waterfront or close to the waterfront hotels here in Southwest Harbor starting in around 1900. There was another one just up the road here called Stanley House. And those old hotels, which were wood structures, are all long gone. At some point they either burned down or were torn down. And next door to this house is Southwest Harbor's Manset Town Dock. So that's a public dock, and we'll walk up by it in a second. Across from the public dock, there are two buildings. There's a big old house up there. Nice view out over the harbor. That house sold not too long ago, and they built this rather boxy looking structure in front of it. That is a new construction house in front of the old White House. And here is a sort of motel restaurant with half a dozen motel rooms and a restaurant down below. It's called Peter Trout's, and it is actually open, and there are people in there. I'm not going to peer in the windows and show them to you, but across the road in the Manset Town Docks parking area, you can see lots of cars, and those are people who are having a meal at Peter Trout's restaurant. It's one of the few places that stays open all year. So here's the Manset Town Dock. There's a boat ramp there where we launch and haul out my 1973 Allied Princess 36 Sequester. And this lot next to it, right here, gravel plot, next to the paved lot where the boat ramp is where we step and unstep my masts. And this hotel restaurant has changed hands a number of times since I've been here. It reflects one of the difficulties of running a seasonal business here, in that the tourist season traditionally was about 3.5 months long. It's now extended to be about 5.5 months, but it was very tough to make a go of it if you had to put a lot of money into a restaurant, because you'd only have 3.5 months business, and then it'd shut down for the winter. And this particular building changed hands a number of times since the 90s when I started coming here. We've got a regular little house here, nothing fancy. That one's been there for quite a long time. I don't know anything about it. It's right across from Town Dock parking area. And then we have a new house that's been built over the last 1.5 years that has a great view out over the harbor. And to be honest, I don't remember what was here, but they have built quite a fancy home. I don't know if it's finished yet. Obviously, the landscaping is not done. But nice home, great view out over Southwest Harbor. So I'm going to stop for a second and clear the lens. Now here's another relatively small home right here, looking out over the water. I used to know the people that lived there, and they actually ran a marine custom machining business on the ground floor. They had a couple of CNC machines, and they would make custom hardware for boats. Another house I don't know much about, and then another small home here, again with a nice view out over the water. Here we have a home that has some interesting local history. This home at one time belonged to Jarvis Newman, the boat builder, well known for building friendship sloops and a variety of power boats in this area. He comes from a family that's been in the area for several hundred years, and although Jarvis is gone, his family still carries on in the boating industry. His daughter runs the Newman Yacht Brokerage, and behind the house is the building where Jarvis used to build his friendship sloops and other boats. And now that building and the property around it belongs to the Cranberry Isles. And they bought the property because It came with this dock, and this is the Cranberry Isles town dock here in Southwest Harbor, Maine. And if you're a Cranberry Isles resident, you can get the ferry here and go over to the Cranberry Isles. And up behind Jarvis Newman's former house, there's a large parking area that belongs to the Cranberry Isles. And if you live out there, you can park your car. Then we have things start getting commercial. This first dock used to belong to Manset Yacht Services. I don't know who owns it now. And they even used to have a travel lift. And this house here is a rental. You can rent it in the summer. Nice lawn with a great view up Somme Sound over there. And back here, there are a couple other houses. These houses have actually been moved and then renovated, and I believe they too are summer rentals. And I think a relatively wealthy family owns these houses now and rents them out. And behind the houses, that tan building is a brand new, very fancy boat storage shed that was just finished about 2 years ago, that the wealthy family that owns this property now keeps one or more of their boats in. And the gray building here is their other boat storage shed that they keep some of their other boats in. They have several boats that are kept here in Southwest Harbor and cruise the area. Now this is Manset Yacht Services building. There used to be a cushion maker and sail loft in there that is long gone. Manset Yacht Services basically has a few boats that they rent out for day charters. And I don't know of much else that they do. And this is basically storage now. And we come up here, another house. Brown one there, I don't know anything about that one. It is on Mansell Road though, and there are a number of houses there, mostly dating back to the late 1800s. The house across the street with the unfinished third floor belongs to the Hinckley Company, and it has had a fire a couple of years ago, and they have been slowly rebuilding it. And that building houses the Hinckley Yacht Brokerage. And behind it, we're starting to see the buildings of the Hinckley Company. The building back there used to be one of their fiberglass fabrication sheds. I don't know what they're using it for now. This building has parking, and then it is actually a house. From the water side, it is all windows and has a fantastic view out over the harbor. And this little house here, which used to be much smaller, is just a little waterfront cottage, Seashore Cottage. And you can see at high tide from the seaweed there that the water comes right up around this cottage. And a couple of years ago, they actually raised the foundation several feet because I think they were getting water in the cottage during storms. And then when we get up here to this new pavement, we get into the Hinckley Company. Now, the Hinckley Company is a yacht builder that has been here on the shore of Southwest Harbor since the 30s, the 1930s. It was founded by Henry R. Hinckley, and these buildings all belong to it. Right down here, these small buildings are used as storage, and then the big building here on the other side of the street used to be their main fabrication building, where they built a lot of their sailboats. Hinckley Bermuda 40s, Southwester 42s, Hinckley Pilots, etc. And you see there's a Hinckley jet boat back there. Now this yard has turned into a storage facility and maintenance facility because the Hinckley Company stopped building sailboats a few years ago and now just builds powerboats. And they have a facility on the mainland in Trenton, across the road from the Hancock County Airport, and also down the road from the across from the Hancock County Airport. Here, for example, is a typical Hinckley yacht sitting here on the Hard. Usually the Hinckley Company puts boats that are for sale right here. So I don't know if this one's for sale or not. This one, however, is not a Hinckley. This is a Morris. And you can see it says MY on the side. In a way, it is a Hinckley because the Hinckley Company bought Morris yachts. So here's Hinckley Company. And as I said, this is a service yard now. If you need work done on your boat, they can do it. And down here, we've got more boats on the Hard. And we got 3 Hinckley's, and the white boat is something else. Can't tell what it is from here. One of their 3 travel lifts and their service dock out there. And a little building there. I don't know what it is now. It used to be storage for, had lockers in it for people who are storing their boats here over the winter to put their gear in. And then at the end of the dock, in the taller part of the building, the ground floor used to be restrooms and a laundry area, and the upper floor used to be an apartment that rented out in the summer. Okay. And here is the Hinckley Ship Store. Now, I don't know if this is open as a retail outlet anymore. It used to be you just go in and shop and buy things in there. But in the last few years, the situation here at Hinckley has changed a lot. The company is no longer family owned. It's owned by an investment company of some sort. And that has changed the way things operate. Back in the early 2000s and late 1990s, there used to be a very active summer community of boaters here. Hinckley has about 50 moorings out there that they rented out, and they used to have a good sized population of summer boaters that rented moorings from them and stored their boats here in the winter, and they made a nice community. I used to keep my boat there from 97 until 2006, and was part of that community, which was very pleasant. Met a lot of very nice people. So we'll just continue just a little bit further. You can see up into the Hinckley yard. There are a whole bunch of big storage buildings back there. That first building with the 4 doors in it is not a storage building. That is their paint shop where they can all grip your boat. Now across the road from Hinckley are a couple of summer inns. That's Mansell House there, nice waterfront home, which is used to belong to one of Henry Hinckley's brothers, but now is an inn and has been for many years. And down at the end of this gravel road, there used to be a restaurant down there, right on the water, which was quite nice, but they had a very spectacular fire and it burned to the ground in the early 2000s. And more of the Hinckley Company's storage area. There are often large boats sitting in here, and you can see another one of their travel lifts back behind the ship store building. Okay, there are more homes down here. But I think I'm gonna stop because I really don't know much about the homes down here. Past this, and the road pulls away from the water, so although it is still shore road, you can't really see the water from much past where we are now. So there's some of the buildings associated with the Moorings Inn, the Mansell house there, and the other buildings. And you can come here in the summer and rent a nice view room looking out over Southwest Harbor and the entrance to Somme Sound. Okay, so that finishes off my walk for today, and I'm gonna head back to the truck. This is basically a walk to get my leg limbered up, and I don't want to overdo it. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this part of the Southwest Harbor waterfront, the Manset shore. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up and maybe even think about subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching.